Okay, so welcome everyone to our session. I know it's a pretty quick transition from our beginning, so thank you everyone for coming. And by the way, you feel free if you have a question to you can raise your hand in here. Add one more person. You can also just go ahead and pipe up if you'd like and interject. I'm totally, we've got a half hour, so we'll do the most we can. I'll tell you about our experience at Merit Academy. I'm here right now at the school, and we're doing some construction back home, so it's kind of loud and crazy with two boys, and yeah, it's a mess. So I'm coming in to do this. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So let's see. All right, can you guys able to see this? Does this look good? Yeah, okay, sweet. We got one more latecomer. Come on in, Abby. All right, so yeah, as those of you who signed up for the session are probably aware, we I wanted to talk a little bit about just our experience as a smaller charter school, trying to implement Canvas both before and then after and during COVID-19. So of course that was, as you can imagine, has been pretty messy, but that's fine. We've done the best we can. So let me tell you a little bit about myself before we get going. That's me and my two boys, Kendrick and Sterling. I graduated in 2012 from BYU with my social science composite with a minor in ESL and bilingual education. I've been teaching for the last 4 years. This will be my 5th year going into here at Merit Academy, which is right here. We're located in Springville, Utah. We're a public charter school. I currently live in Payson, been living there for the last, been 11 years now. So we've been there a little while. Also, this past year is one of the things we needed to do as part of my SUU graduate work and program was they wanted us to look and see if there was anything we could do to help improve our school. And one of the things that we had, admit everybody, here we go. I think I got everybody in, is I learned that there was, we got even more. All right, let's keep on trickling in. Keep on coming. Come in all. Come in all. We learned that there was a need for some sort of LMS and I guess you could say a blend. We wanted to have a better, more organized blended learning environment at our school. So we didn't have that, and that was a problem. So we wanted to work towards that. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about me, you can check out my professional portfolio at joe-folio.weebly.com. You can also check out my personal education blog at gamifyed.weebly.com, so you can check those out. But anyway, enough about me. Keep on coming, guys. So why were we thinking about using Canvas? Well, we have a great school. We've got about around 30 teachers. We are a school of not quite 500 students, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to provide, obviously, the best education we can for our students, right? Oh man, they just keep coming. Yeah, keep on coming, everybody. Unfortunately, though, as you guys might be aware, with a lot of different teachers, and especially the charter school where we allow a lot of flexibility for teachers to teach with the curriculum the way they want to and kind of do their own thing, that has meant that the students and the parents are bombarded with all sorts of different stuff. Lots of different apps are using, like they mentioned, hey, let's make an Adobe Spark video, or let's use this other program, or this or that. There's a lot of that sort of thing going on. And so, even before the COVID-19 outbreak, we realized as a school that there was definitely a need to improve that, right? And as we looked around, we kind of came up with two main learning management systems that we thought would help us with that. And one of them was Canvas, and the other was Google Classroom. And so we had the English department lead out on Google Classroom, and I volunteered to lead out for Canvas. But we wanted to see how both would go, and then we were going to kind of make a final decision. But the administration was kind of leaning more towards Canvas. So yeah, anyway, what I did is I created a voluntary professional learning community, right? And I volunteered to be the lead. And we decided that we would meet the first couple months once a week, and then we ended up doing it basically every other week. And it was, so we were the pilot group. There's a picture of us. We were the guinea pigs, right? And we called ourselves the Canvas crew. And we met voluntarily all together. We worked together to explore Canvas, see how it was working, and see it, try to create a blended classroom. So this was in the fall. This is fall 2019. We wanted to have at least one class that was blended fully with Canvas by the spring semester in 2020. Well, as you can imagine, that was the original plan. Things changed once Corona came around. But our plan was we would adopt that. So we'd spend the fall semester getting ready, getting acquainted with it. And then by spring, we'd have one blended class ready to go. I actually ended up doing 2 of those because I felt comfortable doing it. So I did 2 instead of just the 1. And we were hoping that this would give us the insight and abilities to make sure that in going forward, we could train anyone else who was interested in Canvas. And if we decided as a school to use only Canvas, because we weren't quite sure at that time what we were going to do, but we wanted at least we wanted some people using Canvas, maybe everyone, that we would be able to help them out. So we wanted to create a better blended learning environment for our school, have a place where people could come together. Again, originally our plan was, we've got Google Classroom and we're using that and it works well. Canvas seems to have a lot of the same abilities, maybe a couple extra abilities, so we looked at doing that. Let's see here. And our ongoing plan, for those of you who took a look at it, I had the link there. The plan was that we would then, after having done it in the spring, we would feel more comfortable with things, right? And then during the summer, we would continue to, oh my, keep adding people. All right. We would continue to train and work towards that. And of course, this is all pre-corona, right? And then our ongoing plan was that by the fall of this year, so this upcoming fall, every teacher would have at least one course blended, and then more training. And finally, by fall 2021, we hoped that all of our teachers would have all available blended classes in Canvas. So that was kind of our plan. And it was a good plan at the time before all this craziness started with COVID. But then, of course, Corona came. And yeah, that kind of messed things up. And of course, all of us were there, and we all heard the news when on Friday, March 13th, Governor Gary Herbert said, hey, we're going to close schools. And then we never really did reopen after that with soft closure. And, again, as all of you are familiar with, we basically had those the next Monday and Tuesday given to us. And then, most schools were up and running again by the week after that. I reached out to the rest of my Canvas crew as the lead and said, hey, I think it's go time, guys. We're going to have to do this. Do you think we're prepared for it? And they said, yeah, I think we're good. And we might need to do some catch up, but we'll do what we can to help others. And we reached out and told other people, hey, if you need help, let us know. We're here to assist you if you would like to use Canvas. Again, we hadn't decided at that time if that was going to be our exclusive LMS at the school, but we were making ourselves available to people. And in some ways this worked well, but not everybody was ready to take that plunge. Again, because we had made it voluntary, a voluntary PLC, a lot of people were like, well, I don't know, I'm gonna try to keep it simple. And so there were some people that didn't take advantage of that. But those who did, I felt like we were able to quickly get them up to speed and get them where they needed to be. There were others who worked with the English language department with Google Classroom, and they got that going. So for those that wanted to, as teachers, we were able to quickly get them up to speed and basically on an online format. But like I said, this meant that a lot of the different teachers did a lot of different things. So, you know, we had Canvas-based courses going on here at our school. We had Google Classroom-based courses going on. We also had a lot of people in both of those using live remote classes like Zoom and Google Hangouts, right? We had homework packets going home for those, especially for those teachers who didn't feel comfortable with the more technology-based stuff. And all of that was going on all at once. And of course, as you can imagine, this became quite chaotic without, you know, a clear, hey, we're going to do this from the administration. That meant that every teacher, and that's good and bad, it's a double-edged sword, right? So it got a little crazy. We had a lot of different things going on. Unfortunately, that confusion that led to us exploring Canvas as an option because of all the different things that students were having to do, now that they were having to do it remotely, was obviously, as you can imagine, an even bigger challenge. So it was problematic for sure. But we lived and we learned, right? As I'm sure you guys can imagine. Now, let's start with the negative and then the positive things that we noticed. And I did a survey, talked with a bunch of different teachers, students, and parents as we went through this process. Here's a couple of different things that I noticed. And you probably, in your own experience, and like I said, here at the end, I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to pipe up and share some of your experience too, please do. One thing, student involvement dropped significantly. We're a Title I school. And part of this, I'm sure, had to do with the fact that not every student had easy access to a computer. We could have done a better job as a school of making sure that the students knew that they had access to Chromebooks that we had here at the school, and we could have done a better job with that. But we eventually did get behind that, but it took some time, probably longer than it should have. A lot of teachers also, because of the challenges and students reaching out and saying, I only have this much access to a computer, or I have a really hard time getting access to stuff, they felt like they had to ease up on things and significantly alter curriculum in order to help at least the kids reach a basic level of what they were trying to teach them, right? And so there was ethically some questions there. And of course, like I said before, all of these changes and all of these different things they were trying to navigate, that was incredibly frustrating. It made it hard. We as teachers were doing our best to reach out via email and phone calls to parents and students, but that didn't always happen, or we weren't always able to get in touch. And so that was hard. And the fact that the whole social aspect was missing, that was a big deal, and that was gone. You know, in a lot of ways, like especially for teachers who weren't utilizing those live interactive classrooms. I'm sure you guys experienced some of these as well. Anybody willing to share or talk about some of the things that you experienced either at your school or that you noticed with maybe even your own students if you have kids? Can you?
Sorry, I can go ahead and share one.
Please, yes, go ahead.
One thing that I noticed is that the majority of my students were doing their homework between like the hours of like 7 to 1 in the morning. And so everyone was like sleeping in. So even though I had set up times where we could go on and meet, I was only getting like 2 or 3 students that were logging in. But when I was correcting work, and you know how it dates and timestamps everything, I was noticing the majority of the student population was doing work after 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
and
I noticed that too.
To kind of gear things maybe towards a later schedule, so then that way I could try to get more students. And I don't know if that's because parents were working and they were babysitting, or that was the only time that they were able to access or to get on. But I noticed that the majority of my students were doing work later for those who were doing work.
Thank you. Is it Sinahay? Is that how you pronounce it?
Sinaha.
Sinaha. Sorry. Thanks, Sinaha. Yeah, I totally noticed that too. In fact, I ended up moving my classes to 10 and 12 because that was something that I noticed happening as well. And we coordinated with each other as teachers, but I don't think there was any teachers teaching before 8 o'clock because, yeah, the kids, with all the craziness that was going on, it seemed like, especially the home life, in a lot of ways was kind of breaking down. I know it did at our house. Schedules were crazy, and yeah, so I can totally relate to that. Would anyone else like to share any observations and some things they saw? All right, we'll go ahead and move on then. Yeah, so a lot of different things going on, unfortunately, for better or worse. Now let's talk about some of the positive things that I saw and that we saw at our school. You know, not everything was bad. I'll be honest. There were a lot of good things, and I saw a lot of creative ways that teachers worked to make things better. And hopefully you guys can share some positive things you saw too. For one, a lot of the teachers that originally didn't think that the face-to-face was maybe something they wanted to do, they realized that was a really positive thing from the teachers that were doing it. And so we really quickly had a quick adaptation of that amongst most of the teachers at our school, really quickly, using Zoom and Google Hangouts, etc. We also we realized that recording these interactions was really good, because even if the kids were off on that crazy schedule, like Sneha said, and others I'm sure experienced, that if we could record it, then they could watch it on their own schedule. And so, you know, I did that, just like I'm going to be recording this and sharing this online for anyone who might want to watch it later as well. So that was something that really helped a lot of kids, and a lot of parents told me, thank you for doing that. We really appreciated that, because with all these things going on, it's nice to have that flexibility. Also, a lot of teachers, some of the best teachers here at our school, were offering tutoring sessions or office hours when they were there in Zoom or Google Hangouts, just to be available to the students. And the students really they totally adopted that and took advantage of that. Not everyone did, but a lot of students did, and they shared that they really appreciated that. And the teachers also appreciated being able to have that interaction as well. One of the things that I did is we had a club. I always do an after-school club, and we do various different games. Well, being virtual, couldn't easily play some of our board games like Monopoly or other things, but we could use Jackbox. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jackbox. It's they're interactive online games. I'm sure some of you are familiar with them. And I was able to use Zoom, and then we could play the games, and they could log on and play. So it's kind of like Kahoot, but you know, like a lot more fun and different things. And granted, this was you can use Jackbox in some educational ways. There's a couple different games they have that you can actually create your own inputs for those and ask the kids to do it. And that's something that I used in a couple classrooms. But we did it more for just the social aspect of having fun and making sure that the kids felt like they were still part of the Merritt community. Another teacher here at the school, and it was very successful, very popular. Every week for about 2 hours, I had, you know, every game was full. And usually the games have a max of like 8 kids that can play. And we even ended up splitting it so that we had another teacher doing another session so that more kids could participate. And the kids who participated with that really enjoyed it. And it was a lot of fun. But another teacher, she's one of our favorite teachers here. She also engaged in an interactive scavenger hunt. So she invited the kids to, she created a scavenger hunt, left some clues in her Canvas class, and said, hey, if you want to do this, there'll be some prizes and stuff. So it was a little bit like geocaching, a little bit like a modern day scavenger hunt. And the kids loved that, and they ate that up. So we did some of these other things that are a little more out of the box, less specifically about class and more about that school community of being able to participate in different things. And we found that to be exceptionally helpful ourselves at our school. Anything that you guys would like to share that you found was useful and helpful in your classes and or in your school that you heard of people doing, or maybe you did yourself? Would anyone like to share? I can always do like I did with my other students and just be like, okay, I'm going to randomly pick on so-and-so. All right, yeah, here, you're unmuted, Kay Newman. Go ahead.
One thing I noticed is like with your getting kids to interact with you is when I only had a half an hour lesson time for Zoom once a week since I was an elective class, but I used quizzes, and that was something new to me, but they had quite a few quizzes already made, so it was a quick way to add some quizzes, and it had a leaderboard, and it was just, I think, something fun for the students to do when they could get on my Zoom meeting that once a week. One thing positive that I noticed is some students that did online, they really wanted to get their work done quickly and were able to move through the lessons, and I used Canvas quickly. And in class, sometimes they would be not just sitting around waiting for other students or something. So this way they were able to move at their own pace, get that finished, and moved on. And they enjoyed moving on to other things during the day. But also, you might have seen students that really struggled because they didn't have that one-on-one help, especially the students that are on IEPs and stuff. Yeah. So that was difficult, and I'm glad you guys used your tutoring sessions. I tried that a couple of times, but it was difficult to meet up sometimes with, get those Zoom meetings scheduled and meet up with them. But when I did, it was really helpful with the few students I was able to connect with. So
thank you. Yeah, thanks, Kay. And that was definitely something I also experienced as well. We've got some people chatting. Let's see. Tiffany says, positive effect of a few of my students staying motivated, setting excelled in the online setting. Yeah, I found that too, that we had some students who were able to do quite well. Overall, I do think that a lot of students struggled, and it was definitely a challenge for us. But yeah, it was interesting to see how there were some that took it and they were able to just blossom with it. In fact, I don't know those of you who used either Canvas or another LMS, but one of the great things about that, having a blended classroom like that, is there's a lot of room to put enrichment type activities there, right? So for your gifted and talented and other students like that, really easy to add extra things that you can put in, and you can say, hey, here's some other things to check out that aren't required, but you're checking out the class, you're doing these things, let's say we're learning about the age of exploration. Cool. By the way, here's a game you can learn what it was like to be a spice trader, online. So you can play this from your Chromebook or whatever. Check it out and just kind of experience what that was like or whatever. So yeah, I do think that definitely with post COVID-19, the world we live in has definitely changed for education. And so, that means that we're going to have to get more creative, and probably a lot more online interaction is going to have to occur. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Cindy says, we offered specific Zoom sessions for struggling students where we'd go through part of the work and then they had less work to complete. Okay. Yeah, I really like that. So if they came, they didn't have to do as much. And I think that's great. Yes. Great motivator. Yep. I did some things like that too. I said, listen, if you'll come to the sessions, then you won't have to do this other assignment that everyone else will have to do. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Cindy. That's an excellent idea, and that can be really helpful. So of course, there's a lot of change going on right now. A lot of schools are still trying to decide, what are we going to do for our schedule? What are we going to do? Are we going to offer online only? Are we going to offer both? Are we going to offer either or, right? And so those are some questions that we still have to answer. But these are kind of the final questions I wanted to discuss and share. We've got about 7 minutes left, so that's the remainder of this time. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Here's some of the sources, just real quick, stuff that I shared today, and some of the things I used. But anyone who wants to answer and share their thoughts on this, how your school is going to do it, or what thoughts you have personally had to go and improve now that we survived at least one semester, half a semester more or less, of COVID-19 and social distancing and all of that. Any other thoughts or ideas? Please, let's share. Let's hear the good, and the bad too if you need to vent.
I had taken the Canvas course last summer, And so I had built my whole course on Canvas for the first time and had already started implementing it. And I think that really saved me because I'm a SPED teacher.
Oh yeah.
And so my students were already used to that routine. They're used to the system already. And that really helped. And as the previous comment said, I had students who would struggle in the classroom, but working distantly, man, they just took off, and in a week they had the whole semester done, which was helpful because others really struggled. We have a lot of students that don't have internet, and so
Yeah.
I was doing hard copy packets and that, but the Canvas really saved me a lot of connection, because then I could see exactly when the students logged in, if they're participating. It'd have, twice weekly Zoom sessions for every class, one-on-one with students who didn't want to meet with classes, chat sessions, and even going to their houses to pick up or drop off packets, hard copy ones for those who preferred that. But without Canvas, I would really have been struggling even more.
Excellent. Thank you, Treya. Yeah. That's kind of how we, as the Canvas crew, that's where we found ourselves, right? And if we hadn't done that, I think it would have been a much bigger struggle, especially for those who hadn't done anything with it. And we were able to offer them more help. And let's see, Janny, she shared in the chat, keeping those pages simple. It is, and that's kind of one of the things we discovered at our school, and one of the reasons we thought about, hey, and by the way, just so you know, we have decided that going forward we're going to be transitioning over to Canvas only, so that there's one landing platform for all of our parents and teachers and students to have that online interaction with the school. Their grades are going to be there, all of the curriculum is going to be there. It's going to be a one-stop shop, which I think will be very helpful, especially given the circumstances with COVID-19. Let's see, we've got a couple other comments that keep moving up. So thank you, Janny. I think that's really great. Yeah, Marcy, excellent question. She says, we already knew our students before all this happened. What about this next year, especially with new students who may be exclusively like online, right? So that's something to definitely consider. And I think with social distancing and whatnot, we'll have to get creative. We'll be like, okay, maybe we have interactive get-togethers where we just say, hey, come on in, let's meet each other. We'll break the ice. We'll have these meetings at this time, especially with the online. I actually taught at a school before I came to Merritt that was an online charter school. And we learned that it was important with kids most of these kids who wanted to do this, that these kids had chosen to go to an online charter school, whereas with COVID-19 and all the closures, that's obviously a different situation. But they needed that flexibility, right? They had lots of different things going on. So I think having good flexibility and multiple options for people at different times is good and important. That helps kids who may, like someone said earlier, be babysitting their younger siblings, because mom and dad have to continue to work, and with all the craziness that's been happening, it's hard to get daycare with social distancing. And if kids get sick, then everyone's like, oh, stay home, and someone has to watch those kids, right? So I think that's a really important question. Thank you, Marcy, for bringing that up. And be thinking about that. How can we connect with our students? Tiffany, she also shared, and she says that they started using Canvas also this last year, and that they were working on towards doing that. And so yeah, you guys also benefited from that. And it seems like especially Canvas offered their services to the state of Utah and to Utah schools for free a few years ago. And I think that's why a lot of schools are saying Canvas is awesome. Let's jump on board with this. Okay. And Cindy, she just shared that, yeah, so you're gonna be doing alternating days. Is that Davis, by the way, Cindy? I heard that Davis might be doing that. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so Davis is doing that, alternating days. Yeah, and it's gonna be tough, and we may end up doing that as well, right? But like she says, I think the most important thing we can do is be positive, right? And make sure that we're doing what we can and keeping a happy face and working with these kids and letting them know, hey, we care about you, we appreciate you, can we access your sources? You should be able to be able to, someone asked if they could access my sources, but if you want to see, a lot more of my stuff is available on my online portfolio. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that here, and you can see all it, like from that website, you'll be able to access all of the different stuff that I worked on this past year with Canvas, a whole bunch of different things. So if you want to check that out, yeah, you're more than welcome to look at those. And I'll also have this recorded, and they're going to be posting this back onto the main page, this recording of our class. So yeah, thank you, Joanna. That leaves us out of time, guys. So anyway, I appreciate you coming. I hope that this was informative for you and that you were able to look back at your own experience, and hopefully maybe some of the ideas that I was able to share will be useful to you in your school. If you want to email me and you have specific questions about some of the stuff I did that helped us to be successful, please let me know. If you have questions about Canvas, I'm happy to help. I don't pretend that I'm an expert, but if there is anything that you'd like help with, I'm happy to offer what I can and give you advice and feedback, etc. So yeah, thank you for joining us, guys. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and end the share. If there's any last things before you head out, we do have the 15-minute break. But if you have any questions you want to ask, I'll stay for another 5 minutes before I sign off. So thanks for coming, everybody. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here from charter schools, or are most of us all from regular public schools? Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Kay. Yes, and I'll share those same thoughts with Kay Newman. You know, good luck this next year. Oh, Michael. So he mentions you're at a charter school. What, if you don't mind telling me, which school are you going to be teaching at? Yes, Daphne, it was good to see you, by the way. I was like, I thought I knew you from geocaching. So are you teaching now? What are you doing in education? Because I didn't know you were into education. That's pretty cool. Fast forward charter. Awesome, Michael, that's great. Oh, good for you, Daph. That's awesome. Yeah, love the elementary age, a lot of fun. Probably some of my favorite kids. Well, Michael, this isn't your first year teaching, is it? Have you been teaching previously? Oh, awesome. Good for you. Yeah, you know, charter schools, they're a different beast. You know, I've worked with both. I've only worked in charter schools, but, you know, doing my internships and whatnot through my two different degrees, I've done both of those at regular public schools. But charter schools, you know, there's double-edged swords with both of those, right? And I think there's a lot more flexibility often in a charter school, and that's really nice. But there's also more accountability too when things go wrong, because you know there's usually in regular charter schools, I should say, public charter schools, you don't have. I mean, my experience that usually it's your at-will employment. And so sometimes I've noticed that some teachers that, you know, I thought were great teachers end up leaving or being let go without much cause. And that's a protection that you usually will have at a regular public school a little bit more. But I love working at my charter school. I think it motivates me, you know, knowing that can be a great motivator to always be working hard and try to be on the cusp of new things and theories in education. And so I think you're going to really enjoy it. What do you teach, Michael? What subject? And again, if anyone has any specific questions, English, yes, love English. English is a lot of fun. I probably would have got my minor in English if I hadn't had there was a teacher at BYU that she just really put me off to English, unfortunately. And I wish that I had just been like, yeah, forget her. She's an idiot. But she kind of ruined it for me. I'm like, if this is what the teachers are like in the department, no thanks. Oh, awesome. Yeah. And I really enjoy working with special ed. You know, I'm actually going to be taking over our ESL department this upcoming year. So I'm really excited about that. It'll be a new challenge for me because I haven't taught ESL since undergrad, finishing my undergrad. So I'm really excited about that. And, you know, ESL and SPED, they share a lot of things. So I think that's awesome. Good luck to you as you make this new step in your career and your journey. And thank you, everybody, for coming, those of you who are watching this after the fact. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and you guys have a great day. Thanks, guys.